Okay. Um, so welcome. It's Thursday, and tonight is Shavuot. Um, we've been working with the different Kabbalistic emanations as tools, not as things to contemplate, but as tools to work with, or lenses, maybe is a good metaphor for our meditation, sort of ways to see our inner life and ways to try and develop balance and wholeness in the world. We're at the final of the lower seven that we've been working with, which coincides well with today. Um, in the system, there's a system for counting the Omer. It's the final day of the Omer. Um, and in the system, today is Malchut, is a day of Malchut. So we'll describe what Malchut is. It means sovereignty, but that's a word that's a little too distant. So I'm going to go with immanence instead, or presence, reality. So um, so much of life is about trying to align how things could be, ought to be, might be, we want them to be, we hope they'll be, we fear they won't be, with what is. And so today's practice is just looking at what is here. A lot of times, on the one hand, we don't want to look at what is because it's hard or painful, whether it's about us, ourselves, or in the world. There's a desire not to want to see it. It's unpleasant. And then a lot of times we don't want to look at what is because we color it some other way to see it the way we want. So this is about creating not distance but space, to perceive things a little more objectively, not removed from our own perspective, but just enough distance to notice, oh, I don't want to really know about that character flaw, or oh, I don't really want to know, about why I'm wrong. That's one side of it. The other side of it is, of course, that so much of our lives is spent in our thoughts. Is another part about things. And I think conversations are a good map for that. How much of our conversations are spent having emotional reactions to what's being said or planning how we're going to respond, as opposed to listening to what's happening. And so today's practice is a practice for listening to what's happening. And that's equated with revelation, even listening to what's happening, having a keen ear and eye for what's going on. So today's practice is going to be a little different. It's going to be about noticing what's going on. And the biggest difference in the practice instruction will be to keep your eyes open, as opposed to closed. Normally, we, I think can easily perceive of what's going on as a distraction from our ability to create a quiet inner space. But can we foster a quiet inner space really in our world such that our presence is transformed and we help transform the presence of those we interact with? So that's a challenge. That's the full practice. Can this practice change us? So I think we're ready to do it with our eyes open. So here's how it'll work. I'll note one more thing. The Ari, Rabbi Loria, used to have a practice during the week. He would recite his silent Amidah, his standing prayer with his eyes closed. But on Shabbat, after all, Shavuot is like a big Shabbat, Sheva Shabbatot, 7 Sabbaths. He would pray with his eyes open for this reason, because Shabbat is a day of presence. um, of noticing what's actually happening in our world. So in order to do that, we have to kind of be already calm enough, to be able to take in the world and have that not interfere with being who we want to be, and not just not interfere, but even add to it. Okay, we'll just do the practice. So you'll find a seat. And for this, you'll be looking about 6 feet in front of you, so you may want to move into a place where um, it's okay to look a few feet in front of you. Like if you're right up against a wall, that will be harder. Um, and you may want to kind of ditch the screen to the side as well. And for this practice, it's worth being a little alert in the posture, just like we're trying to be alert in the practice. So you may want to come to the front of your chair. A lot of our chairs set us back into a very passive kind of place where it's hard to pay attention. There are so many things like chairs in life make it hard to pay attention. Noise. So you may want to come to the front and have a somewhat alert posture, kind of activating the core. And during the practice, if you notice that your posture is struggling, without getting obsessed with it, or your abs are tired or whatever it is, because sitting without it back is harder. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. But if you can, just that's okay. Just readjust your posture if you notice. It should be comfortable still, not have to go crazy. And you'll want to put your feet on the ground and maybe have your hands on your knees, palms down, just in a comfortable seated position. And lower your gaze a bit so that you're looking maybe at the ground, maybe 6 to 8 feet in front of you. And like always, taking stock of your body, noticing the feeling of your physical presence, weight, what's supporting you, any prominent feelings of contact between whatever you're sitting on and you. And bringing the attention to the natural breath. Finding the breath just going in and out. Maybe picking the nose or the mouth to kind of just chart that, map that. And keeping the eyes open. 6 to 8 feet or so in front of you looking down, but keeping the eyes open, being open in our whole practice to what's going on. And when we notice, I've drifted from my breath or from kind of being in this place of balance and noticing my breath and resting with it, as we will in life all the time when we are distracted from being the kinds of people we want to be, that's okay. Just notice that too. Bring this quality of awakeness to noticing when you've drifted. It's the same quality. And kind of melt that back in to being with your breath. And continue to rest with the breath and return to it and be awake to what's going on throughout the rest of this practice. Now, turning in for a few moments and letting the eyes close a little bit. Taking that awareness in. Staying with the breath. Staying alert to what's happening in a calm way. Opening the eyes again. And returning awareness gradually to a kind, general, calm awareness. Leaving the period of formal practice, entering the game, the rest of life, the real practice. Does anyone have any questions or comments about today's practice?
No.
Great. So I wish everyone a great day, and
Thank you. You too.
and a Chag Sameach, a very happy Shavuot.
Thank you.
Chag
Same to you.
Sameach.
Yeah, enjoy everyone. Be well.
Thank you. You
Okay,
too.
you too. Bye.